Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I like to meal prep single serving personal pizzas for my freezer so that on days when I just want to hit the drive-thru, I can have a homemade pizza instead. All right, if you're new here, hi, I'm Claire. Welcome. Come on in, make yourself comfortable. We do a lot of single servings over here on this channel. So if you are cooking for one, if maybe you and one other person, or maybe meal for now, meal for later, that kind of thing, we do a lot of that over here. So hit subscribe if you like single servings. Now, today I already had it in my plan to make some stuff for the freezer. I very much like having some things ready to go in the freezer to prevent me from just like popping in a drive-thru or making like an unhealthy choice or an expensive choice. I find stocking my freezer with single servings is so helpful. And I love pizza. Who doesn't love pizza? So I already had it in my plan to make some pizza for the freezer, and I thought I would share it with you guys just to give you some inspiration. The recipe that I use for my dough is from Sally's Baking Addiction. We love Sally, okay? You can trust Sally with your baking needs. I've never had a recipe from her that was bad. I will link it down below. And it's a really basic pizza dough recipe. And I will say that this single recipe makes 5 personal pizzas that are nice, thick, deep dish pizza. I'm a Michigan girl. I like a nice, thick, deep dish with cheese right to the edge. But if you want your pizzas to be smaller, if you want a more thin, hand-tossed vibe, you might be able to get more than 5 pizzas out of this recipe. It's just up to your personal preference. I also will be using these tins for my pizza, but you don't have to use them. I will link them down below. I find them very helpful, not only for pizzas, but for all sorts of single serving things for the freezer. It's just very handy because you can put them right in the oven, which we love. We love a bit of convenience. All right, these are the ingredients we're going to need to make the dough. Super basic. We have flour and sugar, olive oil, salt, and some active dry yeast. I know my yeast looks funny because there's a lot of it here, but just use the stuff in the packet. I like to buy mine in larger quantities because I use it all the time. We'll also be needing water, as not pictured. All right, I will be using my stand mixer today, but you could do this by hand if you wanted to, or if you don't have one. It's totally doable, so don't think you need to have any super special equipment. I'm starting with my warm water. This is 1 1/3 cups. To our warm water, we are going to add a tablespoon of sugar. Next, we're gonna add our yeast. If you're using yeast like mine, you're going to need 2 1/4 teaspoons. However, that also is equal to 1 standard packet. So if you're using a pack, just throw 1 pack in there. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a little mix. So when you're using active dry yeast, what's actually happening, why we use warm water, why we let it sit, is it comes with this little coating around it. And the warm water helps that dissolve, and the yeast is going to bloom. So that's why we give it a minute to do its thing. It's gonna get all foamy. It's gonna let us know that the yeast is active and ready to use. So now we wait just like 5-ish minutes. All right, it's been about 5 minutes and you can see it's nice and foamy. She's alive, she's ready. So now we're going to add our flour. You're going to need between 3½ and 4 cups. Start with 3½ and see how it is. Basically, bread in general is all about the feel. So if it looks too sticky, add some flour. There we go. We've also got 1 teaspoon of salt and 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And we're gonna mix this until it's all combined. All right, we have a shaggy dough. Now we're just gonna let it keep going. It's not too sticky. I'm not gonna add any more flour. She's good just like this. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and let this knead for about 5 or 6 minutes. I'm just gonna set my kitchen timer and let it go. All right, Now this dough only has one rise, so unlike a sandwich loaf where you would rise it, shape it, rise it again, this is only one, which makes this fast, which we love. Fast for bread. So I'm just gonna use the same bowl here because I don't want more dishes than I need. Oiling it just a bit so nothing gets real sticky. Now we're going to cover it. Okay, so you're gonna want this to double in size, and that's gonna take a different amount of time depending on how warm your kitchen is. Right now in Michigan, it's very cold. If I let this sit on the counter, it's gonna take like an hour and a half, maybe even 2 to double in size. So I'm gonna show you a trick if you're running low on time, even if you're in a warmer environment, if you're running low on time or you just wanna speed it up just a little bit, this is how I rise my dough. Okay, the simple trick is I put it in the oven. I turn my oven light on, but I don't preheat it, I don't heat the oven. Just that small space with the light on is enough to make a nice little warm environment. And this is definitely going to cut down the amount of time this is gonna take to double. I'm gonna guess it's gonna do it in about 45, 55 minutes, right around there. And guys, we love a time-saving hack, so that's why I'm doing it this way. It's time. All right, it has been 45 minutes. Look, she's big, it worked. And if you press it and it doesn't bounce back, that means you're good to go. There we go. Okay, so how you divide your dough up is really going to depend on the size of pizzas that you're trying to make. This is about 800 grams of dough. So for me, this is going to make 5 pizzas. But if you are making one a little larger, or maybe you're just free forming them, you don't need special pans. You can just make little circles, however size you want, whatever your personal appetite is, and just bake them on a pan. You don't need anything special. Of course, you don't have to weigh your dough if you don't want to. You can absolutely eyeball this. This is just, you know, the bread baker in me. I can't help it. And I am making mine a pretty like thick crust. You could roll this super thin and get more out of this if you like a thinner crust. I'm definitely partial to like a deep dish. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and just drizzle a little olive oil on the bottom here. You could also just use some cooking spray or like semolina flour, but this is what I do. And now I'm just going to stretch it with my hands. I'm like, you could use a rolling pin. Maybe I will. No, you know what? No, I'm just gonna use my hands. This is gonna be a nice thick crust here, guys. All right, I'm going to stab these with a fork so that they don't get like big and puffy, because we are going to bake these before we put any toppings on. And that will help us just get a better, more even bake when we pull them out of the freezer to eat. If you're gonna eat these fresh, like right now, no problem, put your toppings on, bake it. But since these are going in the freezer, it works a lot better to bake the dough first. And I'm actually just going to let these rest here while the oven preheats. Now we do want a pretty hot oven here. I'm gonna preheat it to 475 degrees. All right, my oven is preheated. We're gonna go ahead and put our little pizza doughs in there. I'm only gonna go for about 10 minutes. If this is a fully dressed pizza that you are going to be eating right now, you are gonna wanna go 13 to 15 minutes, but because we are just baking this before the freezer, we're not gonna let it go all the way. I should have rotated these. The ones in the back got a little dark, but it'll be fine. Because I made such a thick crusted pizza, I really did want them to be mostly completely done. All right, my pizzas aren't totally cool, but guys, I'm ready. I got stuff to do today. I gotta get them all ready for the freezer. So time to top them. I'm gonna show you how I like to top my pizzas in the most cost-effective way. First of all, I don't use any special sauce. I just use tomato sauce. This is tomato sauce that I canned myself. I think I did a video canning this tomato sauce. I will link it down below if you want to see how I can my tomato sauce from my garden. But even if you don't have your own canned tomato sauce that you made yourself, a nice little can of tomato sauce is the way I would go if I didn't have my own, because I think you can customize the flavor and it's so cheap. As far as cheese goes, now if you watched me before, you know I usually shred my own cheese. It melts better and it's usually cheaper. However, Aldi had the pre-shredded stuff on sale. And at the end of the day, I'm always gonna pick what is on sale. So I'm just using this mozzarella cheese that I got at Aldi, but use whatever cheese you like. I also had some cheddar that I shredded for our quesadillas last night left over in the fridge, and I thought that would be really good on top as well. I'm only making these cheese pizzas because I'm like a person that whatever I have like left over in the fridge, I will put on the pizza. So these are gonna be nice little blank slates for the freezer, and then if I have leftover veggies or like sausage or meat from the night before, I can put that on the pizza on that day. Also, my youngest son, he loves a pizza, and his preference is cheese, and that way if one of these ends up being with him, I haven't like ruined it with green peppers or something. It is also worth noting that you can pop these right out. So if it would make more sense for you in your freezer to just like stack these in like a freezer bag to take up less space, you totally can. I'm gonna keep them in here because like I said, Detroit style, right to the edge. We want my cheese to be crispy all the way to the edge. So I like this style of pan, but you know, experiment with it. Do what you like. All right, I'm gonna start with my sauce. Some people like to do olive oil underneath. I find that that's just not necessary for my flavor profile. But if you want, you totally could. Now this is a step I never skip, and that is I add a little bit of flaky sea salt. That's gonna go underneath the cheese. And this really will make your pizza taste good. And now I'm just gonna go in with a little bit of this Italian seasoning. It's the perfect blend. Now we're gonna top with our mozzarella. Again, taking it right to the edge. Now I'm gonna go in with just a little bit of cheddar. Not too much. Sometimes if you especially pick like a really sharp cheddar, it doesn't melt so nicely. Sometimes you'll get like a lot of grease pooling. So I find that if you're gonna use a super sharp cheddar, a little bit goes a long way. Just add a little bit of color and a little bit of a sharper punch while you're eating it, but that's just my personal preference. I'm also gonna hit it again with a little more of this Italian seasoning right on top. And now they're ready for the freezer. Another reason that I do like these little foil pans is that they have lids, and that makes storage super duper easy. If you are like free forming the pizzas, what you would do now is freeze them for a few hours in order for everything to kind of stick together, and then you can package them, you know, in like bags, freezer bags, and that also works well. If you want longer term storage, you can of course break out the vacuum sealer. If you watch me, you know I love my vacuum sealer. However, these are probably going to be used within the next couple of weeks, so I'm not going to prep them for longer term storage. But I love how convenient this is. 5 pizzas, lunches sorted. As far as baking these from frozen, what I like about the foil is that I can put it right in the oven. Just remember that if you made a smaller but thicker pizza, it's going to take a little bit longer. You definitely don't want a frozen pizza. If you want to cut down the amount of time that it takes in the oven, you could thaw it the night before. Sometimes I'll just throw it in the fridge the night before, and that cuts down the time just a little bit. But it's going to take the same amount of time as any sort of like standard frozen pizza you buy at the store. So we're talking probably 425 degrees for like 20-ish minutes, depending how, you know, if it's super frozen or not. But just keep an eye on it. They're really easy. You're not gonna mess it up. So yeah, I will leave kind of those instructions down below. I know they're a little vague. Sorry about that. Cook the pizza on vibes. It's gonna work, I promise. All right, you guys, that's it for this video. I hope it inspired you to get some great, easy, single serving things in your freezer. Of course, you don't have to do this exactly like I did it. Just let it inspire you. You could make a calzone. You could do like an Alfredo pizza. Throw some pesto on there. Whatever you got in your fridge, make a pizza out of it. So I hope you got some inspiration out of this idea. Of course, come on back for more content like this. I post every Saturday, so make sure you hit subscribe. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in my next one. Happy pizza making. Bye!